thinking, God, nobody wants to pick up the phone to somebody like me.
I had a decision to make then, and it would do a carry on and struggle.
It's the right decision for the creditors because hello, good morning, Chris Worden, Director First Podcast. Today I'm joined with another client of ours, Director First. He's going to come on, share his experience, strength and hope, and sort of discuss what happened, what he's learned from it, and how he feels now actually getting through an insolvency process. Because most people who are certainly watching these channels, they've either got a fetish for bold people with specs, or you fit the bill quite well there as well, Wayne. Just no,
no specs.
Or they've got some business issues and they're thinking, God, nobody wants to pick up the phone to somebody like me. So Wayne, thank you for joining us, mate. I really, really do appreciate you sort of sticking your head above the parapet, mate.
Yeah, no problem, Chris. It's a pleasure.
So obviously your business now, you're through the liquidation process.
That's correct.
There's a bit of what I want to dig into first of all. Can you give us just like a little bit about what your business was, how it came about, how it, what happened? You don't need to, go into the business name, but tell us who it was and what it did.
Yeah, I've been an electrical contractor for coming up to, probably over 20 years now. And during that time, I decided to enter the offshore industry, go contracting. And, I had some good times offshore, made some good money. And then, unfortunately, COVID-19 hit, big pandemic for everybody. So that started causing problems and cash flow with my business. So it made me reevaluate the situation and things in my business. So obviously, as you know, as a limited company, we didn't get any help through the pandemic. So I took out a bounce back loan, and that was mainly just to, support my wages and keep me bills paid. Mm-hmm. And from there, got back offshore. And didn't really recover. I had some ill health, so that knocked me back again. And then that's when the business started, suffering. And I had a decision to make then, and it would do a carry on and struggle, or do I think about liquidating and leaving that industry and working at home? And that's what I did.
You're not the only one either. I mean, since I think 2020, IR30, obviously we had COVID and then IR35 come in and we started to get work actually from the banking sector in early 2020 before all the COVID stuff had happened. And it was like a steady, I mean, I've been involved in hundreds and hundreds of insolvencies with contractors. And it's, they're still knocking about now, people who are trying their best to sort of get through it. But certainly with the offshore industry, it's very hard if you're working for a bigger company, it's very hard to get a job that's outside IR35. So most lads are going to working, it's hard graft as well, isn't it? That they're away from the families and they're actually getting paid less.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are going, well, that's another question I wanted to ask, really, mate. What were the sort of main factors that led you to the decision that you actually do need to liquidate the business?
Just the slowdown of work coming in from offshore, and then just like you've said there, I started reevaluating things and thinking, is it worth staying offshore, being away from your family, struggling, trying to keep the business afloat. And I just thought, you know what, there's more to life than being away offshore, and there's got to be, an easier, less stressful way to run a business than be working offshore. So that's what I did. And and then obviously I contacted yourself, looked into liquidation. And it was the right decision for me. It's probably, it might not be the right decision for everybody, but my circumstances and the discussion I had with yourself, because I wasn't, I've no intentions of working back offshore. as a limited company. So there were no point in keeping that, you know, that company running. So it was the right decision for me to liquidate it and start afresh.
Yeah, and that's it. It's that business. It was no longer viable.
No,
And it's not because the director's a criminal.
no.
And that's the nonsense that a lot of people have in their head.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to do this because I'm going to be seen to be, or people will think. And it's nonsense. It's like you were involved in an industry that COVID happened, which caused issues across many sectors, so, you know, especially offshore. You know, jobs were getting cancelled, contracts were putting on hold. But on top of that, with this IR35 tax reform that came in, your model just didn't work anymore. When did you start going offshore, Wayne?
2013. So like nearly 10 years ago, I did 10 years offshore. Yeah.
So that model now, where you can go offshore, put your money through a limited company, it just doesn't work anymore for the vast majority of lads. So you're right, it is the right decision. It's not just the right decision for you, though. It's the right decision for the creditors, because at least a line gets drawn in the sand. You'll have been one of the many that took a bounce back loan. In a liquidation, the bank applies to the government, they get the money back, and the HMRC perhaps would. Most contractor jobs are exactly the same. They owe a bounce back loan. They've got some corporation tax, you know, outstanding, and that obviously both of those debts are unsecure, which is, you know, good news, because it's not the director that owes the money. It's actually it's the company. And you touched on something where a lot of directors are actually worried about. You took the bounce back loan, you took the right amount. Let's put that out there. You put the correct amount.
Yeah.
But you used it personally to keep going. And when you're a one-man or one-woman band, because you will hear even me say this, is if you misappropriated that bounce back loan, you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference, though, when you're taking it personally. You're a small businesses. If you took that bounce back loan in good faith, which you did, and you used it in line with or less than your earnings previous, nobody can take any action against you. If you took it on the Monday, transferred it all out on the Tuesday, that's an issue. So thankfully, you know, this liquidation, it's gone very, very smoothly. You're through it now. The company is in liquidation. Did you take any steps to sort of like look at other options before you finally pulled the trigger on a liquidation?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to yourself. You know, it wasn't a decision that I took lightly. I mean, I've had that business 10 years. You know, and I wanted to really, at times, to carry on and struggle and get through it, because I didn't want to liquidate it. You know, but fortunately for me, like you said, I didn't owe massive amount of money to people. Everybody were paid that needed to be paid, which were a good thing. So yeah, that's why I decided to liquidate. Yeah.
Okay, mate. And now, where did you find me, by the way?
Oh, I'd seen your podcast videos online, and then I googled your company, just read your reviews, which were all good. And then just made contact with you. We had a discussion, and you know, your company seemed great. Right decision for me to speak to you, and the whole process for me is, you know, there were a few forms to fill in, which I expected, questions by the liquidators, which, you know, I expected, but other than that, everything's just gone smooth for me. You know, no issues. Everybody that I've spoke to have respected me. You know, I've not been treated like a criminal, like you say, and I've been helped out, and it's done. Yeah, I would recommend your company to anyone that's thinking about liquidating, or at least speak to you if that's the only option. You know, that you are thinking of liquidating and there's no other way out for you, then obviously contact yourself.
Well, here's the mad thing. Most people, right, they ring me thinking they need to liquidate, and after a 10-minute chat, they've got another option.
Yeah.
Sadly,
Yeah.
that wasn't the case for you, but I think most people that they get so anxious and overwhelmed when it comes to business debt, and
Yeah.
it's like, listen, if I turned up on site with you one day and you asked me to do something, my head would blow off. You know,
Yeah.
I just don't understand that world. And
Yeah.
it's very much the same when it comes to insolvency. People, they might have short-term cash flow problems and they'll go to the worst case scenario possible.
Yeah.
Because I've been there. I mean, I say, you know, openly, I was a director who had to liquidate a business. I tried to research information out there. There was nothing that spoke to what I would class as the average man on the street, which is what I am. And when I went to see these insolvency practitioners, that they just spoke a different bloody language to me, you know, and that's where we come up with director first, and it's there for the director. It's to explain things in an easy to understand manner. But I think most people, they just need to talk. And I like what you did. Is listen, you might not approach me. That's fine, okay. But you've got to, if your debts are becoming hard to pay, you've got to approach somebody, but verify who they are, because there are loads of firms out there, some good, some bad, like any industry. But the good ones will have a lot of reviews. And literally, you can go out there, you can dig in, whether it's Google review, Trustpilot review. And I would say that there's less than a handful of firms out there that will stack up to that type of thing. So listen, there are some good firms out there, but it's a big decision, insolvency. And if you go with the wrong person, like literally, we all look the same, insolvency people, okay? You've got to use a licensed insolvency practitioner. They all look the same, but they're very different on how they handle things, guys. So just be really careful. Do not rush into this. What's the saying that they have on a building site? Measure twice and cut once. I mean, give us some sort of context, mate, because it's it is a bit of you know, there's paperwork, there are challenges. What were the biggest challenges for you, you know, going through that liquidation process? What was on your mind?
I was just, you know, just thinking, oh God, what, you know, have I made the right decision? Am I going to get interrogated? So I was a bit worried about, you know, I thought they were going to be like HMRC and just interrogate me, but it wasn't like that. There is a lot of forms, you know, and there is questions, but the liquidation firm that obviously I used, they guided me through everything, so it were quite straightforward. And once everything was filled in, it were all checked, and there were a bit of correspondence, a few emails, but after that, I was left alone. They contacted, you know, anybody that were, you know, were going to be pestering me or hounding the business. They kind of made contact and let them know that we were in liquidation. So that stopped any hassle from anybody. So that were it really. Just the paperwork side, you know, a lot of paperwork, but it's expected. But other than that, mate, we're fine.
And did the pressure come off straight away?
Yeah,
You know,
well,
once you sort of...
it's not straight away, but I mean, it's a 50%. Once I made contact and the decision was made, then I did feel like 50% better. And then obviously, once all paperwork were filled in and went back at, you know, I did. I felt relieved. I just thought, God, thank God for that. That's that over. Clean slate, done. Yeah. So.
And it sort of frees up some brain space then, doesn't it? To sort of get...
Yeah, it does. It does worry you. I'd be lying if I said no. You do think about what if this, what about that, what about this, and what you know. Once you're liquidated or you speak to liquidators, you feel less stressed. Yeah, you can kind of get your life back, sort of thing.
And listen, this is what we do at Director First. So our job is always director side. Like obviously, we only work with licensed insolvency practitioners. We've worked with them all for years and years and years. But what our job is we get the job in, okay? We talk to the director, make sure that there's no issues, you know, and if there is issues, how can we mitigate those issues? Because what most people don't understand is, as an insolvency practitioner, with their insolvency practitioner's hat on, they're there to represent creditors. That they're not, so they can't be truly independent. However, there's some bloody good ones out there, and I would say the ones that are bloody good we work with. You don't even pay us for this. You know, we get the jobs in, we get paid from the insolvency practitioner if sadly the business goes into liquidation. You touched on something there, and if you can share with us, like, what were you worried about with this? I know with me, it's thinking, right, I'm going to prison, I'm losing my house, I'm going to end up in a skip.
Yeah,
you know, there was no middle ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I would just, I was worried about, will I be able to get a mortgage? Is this going to affect my credit rating? Blah blah blah. Just things like that. And will people want to work with me again once I've been in liquidation? But obviously, it's not you personally. It's a business that's liquidated, not yourself. They were my main worries. But yeah, I've been fine.
And they're the main ones for everyone. Now mortgages. You're right. A liquidation is not going to appear on your credit file. I always say to people, if you are about to get a mortgage, like literally that there is a completion imminent, do not liquidate, right? Because it could spook the underwriter. And I'm not a mortgage broker, by the way, but I'll tell you my personal experience. Obviously, I've gone through liquidation. I have a bit of property as well. Every now and again, when I'm refinancing or I'm buying something, a lender will go, what was that? And I'll explain to them. So mortgages are about affordability. As long as you're earning, you'll get a mortgage if you can afford the mortgage. But the credit score thing was a big worry as well. It's like, mine, I actually, so I ended up owing a bank 25 grand on a personally guaranteed overdraft. And my partner at the time was clearly better advised than me. And he went to the bank and he bid him in the bollocks. He went, here's three, I think it was 3 grand as full and final settlement. The bank took that 3 grand and come to me for the other 23. Because that's what joint and I mean, I can laugh about it now. I could have strangled him at the time. But I was dead worried because I do a bit of property as well. So I was worried that this personal guarantee was going to attack me and it was going to go on my experience. But it never did. I was able to just go to the bank and go, listen, I can't afford to pay you all up front. And I literally stretched mine out for years and years and years at a really low figure, no interest, and it never appeared on my credit file.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I think that's the key thing. I think that's the key thing. If you do speak, you know, if you are owing money to, you know, your creditors, if you do speak to them and come to terms, they'll always accept a payment term, and they will help you rather than, you know, penalise you. It's if you bury your head in sand and think you're going to get away with things, and you're not. It's going to catch up with you.
You're absolutely, and the that thing about will people work with me again? I remember that, and it was my pride. I'm thinking everybody's going to know about this. And the reality is nobody cared. Like no one cares. And looking back, it's like it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me because it actually got me into this industry. But it's just one of those things. It's part of business, isn't it? You know.
It is,
And you probably learned a thing or two going through the process.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I won't do it again.
What are your plans moving forward?
Moving forward, I'm back home. I'm working for myself. I've got a few contracts going. I'm not a limited company. I have no interest in going limited. I'm quite happy just staying small. So I'm just a sole trader now. All my taxes are paid on time. I get paid every Friday. I'm home every day. So yeah. That's me. A lot happier.
Listen, what advice would you give to other business owners who are facing similar financial issues at the moment, Wayne? What pearls of wisdom can you give them?
Yeah, well, I would seriously, if it is bothering you and you don't know which way to turn, you know, and you're trying your best and you can't make it work, then at least if you are thinking of liquidating, then at least speak to Chris at Direct First, and they will advise you everybody's different. Every case is different. Everybody's circumstances are different. So the advice that you're going to be given is going to be different to what I did. And you know, you might think you need to liquidate, but that might not be your option. You know, there could be another way of helping you out. But until you speak to somebody that knows, then you're not gonna know. So don't sit there worrying about it, not having sleepless nights. What am I gonna do? The quicker you speak to someone, the better it will be.
Top man. Listen, I won't take you any more of your time today, Wayne. I
problem.
really, really do appreciate it. And I appreciate you putting your faith in me as well, mate,
Yeah,
because
no problem. Thanks.
there's a lot of firms out there, and you know, it doesn't go unnoticed. I really appreciate you as a client. Thank you for your time. Thanks for sharing your journey with us, pal. And I wish you all the best, mate. God bless you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks very much. Pleasure. Bye.
Top man.